So, let's talk about South Africa. A beautiful country, right? Amazing people, incredible history, vuvuzelas. Maybe not the vuvuzelas. But behind the scenes, away from the daily headlines and the political noise, there's another story unfolding. Did you know a handful of billionaires are quietly influencing South Africa's future? It's true. These aren't just people with fancy cars and big houses. Their wealth is so vast, their business empires so sprawling, that the decisions they make in a boardroom in Stellenbosch or Johannesburg can ripple out and affect everything from the price of your groceries to the news you see on your phone. It's a fascinating and maybe a little scary concentration of power. We're talking about individuals whose net worth rivals the GDP of small countries. They own stakes in the banks you use, the stores you shop at, the media you consume, and the mines that pull resources from the very ground beneath your feet. Their influence isn't always loud or obvious. It's often subtle, woven into the fabric of the economy itself through investments, job creation, and sometimes political connections. They are the invisible architects of the modern South African landscape, building empires that will last for generations. So who are these people? What are their stories? And how exactly are they pulling the strings? It's not about pointing fingers or creating villains, it's about understanding the system. Because when so much power rests in the hands of so few, it's worth asking some questions. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain. Let's uncover who they are and how they're shaping the nation, for better or for worse. It's time to meet the billionaires who are writing the next chapter of South Africa's story. First up, we have Johann Rupert. Now, if South African wealth had a final boss, it might just be this guy. He's often seen as the face of old money, the patriarch of a dynasty built on luxury and finance. His name is synonymous with brands that scream elegance and expense like Cartier and Montblanc. His company, Richemont, is a global powerhouse in the luxury goods market. Think of the most expensive watch you can imagine. He probably has something to do with it. This isn't just about selling fancy things to rich people abroad, it's about projecting an image of South African business that is sophisticated, powerful, and deeply entrenched in the global elite. But his influence goes way beyond shiny watches and expensive pens. Back home, Rupert's footprint is massive. He's a major player in South Africa's financial sector through his interests in companies like Remgro, which has its fingers in everything from banking with First Rand to private healthcare with Mediclinic. So when you swipe your bank card or visit a private hospital, there's a good chance you're interacting with a system where he is a significant stakeholder. This gives him a unique and powerful position. His decisions don't just affect his own companies, they can influence interest rates, healthcare access, and the overall stability of the financial system. He's not just playing the game, he owns a piece of the board. Because of this, Rupert is a figure of both admiration and intense criticism. To some, he's a brilliant businessman, a titan of industry who creates jobs and upholds a standard of global excellence. But to others, he represents the concentration of wealth that has persisted since the apartheid era, a symbol of an economic system that many feel hasn't transformed enough. He's famously outspoken, never shy about sharing his opinions on politics and the economy, which often lands him in the headlines. His every move is scrutinized because people understand that when Johann Rupert speaks, or makes a business deal, the entire country feels the tremor. Next, we dig into the story of a family whose name is literally as precious as the stones they built their empire on, the Oppenheimers. Nicky Oppenheimer is the heir to the De Beers diamond fortune, a company that for the better part of a century didn't just dominate the diamond industry, it was the diamond industry. They famously convinced the world that a diamond is forever, creating a market out of thin air through one of the most successful marketing campaigns in history. For generations, the Oppenheimer family controlled the global flow of diamonds from the mines of southern Africa to jewelry stores in New York and Tokyo. When you think about it, the scale of that influence is staggering. They controlled supply, they set prices, they shaped desire itself. This legacy placed unimaginable wealth and power in their hands, making them one of the most formidable dynasties on the continent. Nicky Oppenheimer eventually sold the family's remaining stake in De Beers in 2012, marking the end of an era. But don't for a second think that meant he was retiring to go count his money. Selling the family jewels, so to speak, just gave him a massive pile of cash to play with in a whole new way. He's not just the Diamond King anymore, he's a super investor. Today, Nicky Oppenheimer's influence continues through his diverse investment ventures. He's channeling his family's immense capital into various sectors across Africa, from agriculture to technology, through his family office, Oppenheimer Generations. He's also a major philanthropist and conservationist, purchasing vast tracts of land to create wildlife corridors and conservation areas. So on one hand you have a legacy built on extracting finite resources from the earth, and on the other, you have a new mission focused on preserving it. It's a complex picture, a man whose family history is deeply intertwined with South Africa's colonial and apartheid past, now using that wealth to shape its environmental future. Now, let's talk about Patrice Motsepe, a name that represents a different kind of South African billionaire story. He's not old money, he's the embodiment of the post-apartheid dream. Motsepe became South Africa's first black billionaire, a trailblazer who broke through barriers in an industry historically dominated by white ownership, mining. He started by buying low-producing gold mine shafts in the late 90s and turning them into profitable ventures with his company, African Rainbow Minerals, or ARM. His strategy was honestly brilliant in its simplicity. He focused on efficiency, lean operations, and building strong relationships with labor unions, something his predecessors often struggled with. His rise is more than just a business success story. It's a powerful symbol. In a country grappling with the legacy of racial inequality, Motsepe's success offered a narrative of hope and transformation. He proved that the levers of economic power were, at least in theory, accessible to everyone. His empire, ARM, has since expanded beyond gold into a diversified portfolio of minerals, including platinum, iron ore, and coal, making him a central figure in the engine room of the South African economy. His influence is rooted in the very ground of the nation, controlling the resources that power the country and drive its exports. But Motsepe's influence doesn't stop at the mine shaft. He's also one of the country's most prominent philanthropists. Through the Motsepe Foundation, he and his wife, Dr. Precious Motsepe, have pledged to give away half of their wealth, focusing on education, health, and community development. And of course, you can't talk about Motsepe without mentioning football. As the owner of the Mamelodi Sundowns Football Club, one of Africa's top teams, and now as the president of the Confederation of African Football, or CAF, he wields immense cultural and social influence. He's not just a mining magnate, he's a nation builder, a sports icon, and a philanthropist all rolled into one. Let's switch gears from what's under the ground to what's on your screen. Meet Koos Bekker, the quiet visionary who might be the most influential billionaire you've never heard of. While others were digging for gold and diamonds, Bekker was building a different kind of empire, a media and technology behemoth. He took a small, traditional South African newspaper publisher, Naspers, and transformed it into a global internet and entertainment giant. If you've ever used MultiChoice to watch DSTV or browse News 24 for the latest headlines, you've been in Koos Bekker's world. His masterstroke, the move that propelled him and Naspers into the stratosphere, was a bet he made back in 2001. He invested $32 million in a small, unknown Chinese startup. That startup's name? Tencent. Today, Tencent is one of the largest tech companies in the world, the owner of the super app WeChat, and that initial investment is worth billions upon billions of dollars. It's considered one of the greatest venture capital investments in history. This single decision fundamentally changed South Africa's connection to the global tech economy, making the Johannesburg Stock Exchange heavily dependent on the fortunes of a Chinese tech company. The result is that Bekker's influence is pervasive and digital. Through Naspers and its international arm Prosus, he has a stake in everything from online classifieds and food delivery to digital payments across the globe. In South Africa, his influence over the media landscape is honestly unparalleled. MultiChoice is the dominant player in pay TV, and Media24 owns a massive portfolio of the country's most read newspapers and websites. This gives him a powerful, if indirect, role in shaping public discourse and the flow of information. He's the man behind the curtain, the architect of the digital world that millions of South Africans inhabit every single day. Finally, we have Christo Wiese, a man whose story is a dramatic roller coaster of incredible highs and devastating lows. For decades, he was the undisputed king of South African retail. His empire was built on a simple but powerful idea, offering affordable goods to the masses. He was the mastermind behind Shoprite, which he grew from a small chain of 8 stores into the largest food retailer in Africa. with a presence in countries all over the continent. If you've ever shopped at ShopRite, Checkers, or OK Furniture, you've walked the aisles of the kingdom that Christo Wiese built. His influence was immense because it was tangible and everyday. He shaped the shopping habits and household budgets of millions of ordinary South Africans. At his peak, his retail conglomerate Steinhoff International was a global force, gobbling up retail chains in Europe, the UK, like Poundland, and the United States, like Mattress Firm. He was a celebrated tycoon, lauded for his business acumen and his seemingly unstoppable expansion. He was for a time the richest man in South Africa, a titan of industry whose reach felt limitless. His story was the ultimate proof of an entrepreneur's vision. Then came the fall. In December 2017, the Steinhoff empire imploded in one of the biggest corporate scandals in South African history. Accounting irregularities were discovered, the share price collapsed by over 90% in a matter of days, and Wiese's personal fortune evaporated almost overnight. He lost billions. The scandal sent shockwaves through the South African economy, wiping out the savings of countless pensioners and small investors. Wiese's story is now a cautionary tale about corporate governance, ambition, and the fragility of wealth. Though his influence has been massively diminished, his legacy, both the creation of ShopRite and the cautionary tale of Steinhoff, continues to shape the country's business landscape. So there you have it. The chairman, the diamond king, the trailblazer, the media mogul, and the retail baron. 5 men, 5 vastly different stories, but all with one thing in common: immense power to shape a nation. From the minerals in the ground to the news on your phone, from the bank you use to the food you buy, their influence is woven into the very fabric of South African life. These billionaires may not always be in the spotlight, but their decisions, made in boardrooms far from public view, shape the lives of millions of South Africans. Their stories raise important questions about wealth, responsibility, and the future of the country. Is this concentration of economic power a good thing, driving investment and creating jobs? Or does it stifle competition and perpetuate inequality? There are no easy answers. The legacy of each of these men is complex, a mixture of visionary success, national pride, controversy, and sometimes spectacular failure. They are a reflection of South Africa itself, a country of incredible potential, deep-seated challenges, and a constantly evolving story. Understanding who holds the economic power is the first step to understanding the country itself. The choices they make will echo for generations, influencing the opportunities available to everyday people. But what do you think? After hearing their stories, who do you think has the most influence on South Africa's future? Is it the luxury and finance of Rupert, the new age investments of Oppenheimer, the symbolic success of Motsepe, the media control of Bekker, or the retail legacy of Wiese? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.